Hey, welcome Broken World Entertainment, and this is our breakdown of the fourth episode of Andor. As we all know, the first three episodes dropped together, so we just had to wait a week. To be honest with you, I completely forgot that this show was even on. I'm not exaggerating by that. By the way, it was until I saw other people putting up their reviews for the fourth episode saying, "Oh Jesus, yeah, Andor's on." Completely forgot. So the first three episodes, as we know, are really, really slow. Went nowhere. And it's one of those, is it good, is it bad? It's meh. The fourth episode is definitely better than the last three episodes. And to be honest, it's possibly because this episode doesn't particularly focus on Andor. it's like, oh, we've already reached that territory, huh? Okay. So, this episode is about him getting recruited. They never say the rebellion, so it's still hard to tell whether it's for the actual rebellion. Still feels nothing like Star Wars. There's literally three things in this episode that are Star Wars, but they're so short. The first thing that happens, one is two ships, one is a sound I should say, and the third is a droid. The sound could also go with the two ships with the first one. So the first thing we get is TIE fighters, two TIE fighters that are basically on screen for literally 3 to 4 seconds. They just do a very quick flyby. They're patrolling an area. So that's where sound could go with the TIE fighter. You get that. But they do sound a bit different to the normal TIE fighters, which is strange. And you don't hear that kind of screechy build up to when they're getting closer. You kind of hear this weird, almost drony sound. And then they try and do one of them kind of jump scare things where it comes out of nowhere, but like you're watching it on TV, you don't get that effect. It's because they just come booming over this hillside. So they're literally on screen for about 3 to 4 seconds. That's no exaggeration. They just zip by the camera and that's it, they're gone. The second thing, which was the sound, was a speeder bike. It's the literal sound from Return of the Jedi. Again, you only hear it as one guy pulls up on the speeder bike to the camp where Andor now is. It literally pulls up for like 2 seconds, and the droid, you see a droid in a crowd for roughly about 5 to 6 seconds maybe, and it's an R2 unit. Other than that, there's nothing Star Wars. We do go to Coruscant on this one, so you think, how could it not look like Star Wars if we're on Coruscant? I don't know how they managed to do this, but they made Coruscant look like New York. I'm not kidding. They somehow make it. Do you know in how every film with New York they do that, and TV show, they do that rooftop shot where you're flying directly over every rooftop looking down to the street? They do that with Coruscant, and the building design and everything, it looks like New York. It's so bizarre. And for some reason, everywhere we go on Coruscant, it's super grey. There's no vibrant colours, and they don't seem to have all the lines of ships flying around like they do in the prequels. We do get the Empire this time, but even the Empire doesn't feel like the Empire. It doesn't even look like the Empire. The Empire's where the acting is a bit but all the rest of the acting is pretty good. Skarsgård again is the standout in this show and this episode. He is in this episode quite a bit, and it's funny because it's literally the guy is now in what is it 2 episodes, and he's stolen the show basically. So when we get to the Empire, the person who is the standout in it, who just really has that kind of aura to him, is the actor Anton Lesser. I'm not sure what his character is called. I'm not going to remember the names of these characters because they're really not that memorable. But he has a great moment where they're discussing stuff, and this is where we meet the actress. What's she called? The one who says she's surrounded by inept men. Denise Gow. Deirdre is her name. The character's name. She's pretty terrible. But he gives this great moment, Anton, where he asks, what do we do here? You know, one of the guys brings up the fact that 7 people were killed on whatever the planet was that Andor is on. So he's like, right, what happened? How did it happen? And they're like, we don't know. So he's like, right. And he either demotes him or puts him to a different department, which the guy's not happy about. But he says, what do we do here? What is it we do here? And no one's answering. So Deirdre answers saying, we're the enforcement, we're pretty much the law, we're here to establish law and order and blah blah blah. And he's like, yes, very good answer, textbook answer. And she thinks she's like, yeah, in your face, suckers. And he's like, you're completely wrong. And he goes in to say, we're a medical profession, that's what we're in the medical people. And he describes the rebellion and stuff as a virus and a disease, and that they are the cure. And it's just the way the lines was delivered, the writing for that was great, and it came off as menacing as well. Skarsgård, Luthen is his name, convinces Andor to basically join them. So he meets up with this crew that he has that are going to, he tells them they're going to raid an Imperial network system to get all their information, their security information and stuff. The mission is actually they're going to raid a munitions post. But anyway, he gets Andor to meet this group. They have, well, the leader of the group, she tells them, yeah, that's right, this woman power again stuff. She doesn't want Andor to be a part of it, but Skarsgård tells her, look, you have to take him, blah blah blah. And she's to tell the rest of the group that he was always meant to be a part of the group. She never said it because wasn't sure whether he would make it or not in time. He doesn't really speak too much in this episode, Andor that is. So the whole story with Andor this episode is he meets this woman. They do this big long trek. By the way, it's proper landscape where they filmed. It clearly must be in Scotland they filmed in. Stunning landscape. And they're just discussing what this mission is, how it's going, how does she know Lutheran and stuff. The whole Skarsgård stuff this episode is the best part of this episode. So you may have seen him in the trailer where we see him with the short hair, but then we see clips of him with long hair. The long hair is a wig. He goes onto the ship, opens up his little closet type thing. He puts on a wig, he puts on these fancy kind of clothes, all these rings and necklaces and stuff. He's got a different persona. He's undercover basically, or has a facade of being a antiques merchant on Coruscant. But what's great is when you see him put on the wig and the ring and stuff, it doesn't just go to the next scene of him in this game. We see him looking upon himself in the mirror, and then he even starts to act out his mannerisms and stuff. You know, where he's very strict and straight when we first met him and stuff, and up to this point, once he puts all this gear on, he has to act very, not flamboyant, but more relaxed and smiles and stuff. And we meet Mon Mothma this episode. So she arrives to his antiques place, store. That Skarsgård and his assistant are there saying, oh, it's Mon Mothma. They're like, who's that with her? That's a new driver. Don't recognize him. She comes in, asks for a gift for her husband. He shows her, you see a bit of Beskar steel armor there. You see a Gundan shield and stuff. And she's like, no, I need something more special. The assistant tries to convince the driver to have a look at some stuff. So he brings Mon Mothma into the back, and straight away they're talking. It's like, you know, what the hell's going on? Who's this dude and stuff? And she's like, they keep changing. You know, it's the Empire. The Empire are trying to spy on everything. Their spies are everywhere, so they keep changing people all around her to keep an eye on her. Gives her this thing and says, right, look, basically get the information we need, but bring it back. And the way he kind of explains that in front of the driver is, if he doesn't like the gift, bring it back. So she buggers off with that, and they're like, she didn't get the information. Just, you know, it's getting harder. The Empire. We do go back to the planet with the corporal people who, because they messed up, the Empire now takes full control. The Empire were letting them do their thing. They just had to kind of answer to them. They've taken full control now and sent them off. The whole thing with Deidre is just boring. She wants to take control of the investigation. The guy who's in control won't give her the information, and she says, well, she has the clearance for the information and the authority to take control because of that box that Andor stole. That's from her department. She brings it to Anton, his character, with the guy to kind of try and weasel their way in. He just shuts it down. It's like, look, just no, blah blah blah. We do see the corpo fella who fucked everything up, really. For some reason, believe it or not, he's from Coruscant, or at least that's where his mother lives, because we just get this weird shot of him being on Coruscant in an elevator, Then knocking on the doors, mother out, opens the door, he says, "Hi, mom," or "mother." She slaps him, then hugs him, brings him in. That's the end of that scene. It's like, well, that was a absolutely nothing scene. Mon Matra, we get her at her house with her husband, who is setting up a dinner table, and she's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, Senator such and such is coming." She's like, "Are you serious? Why didn't you tell me this?" And she looks at who, she asks like who else is coming, and he starts saying a few names, and she looks at the list and it's like, "Great, these are every person in the Senate who hate me and who block everything I do." And she goes, "You're not sitting me with them." They're like, "Yeah, don't worry, you can sit the boring end. We'll be down here at the fun." So the husband, who's a white guy, is a piece of shit. And she's just like, "Don't do it again," and blah, blah, blah. And that entire scene is also a absolutely nothing throwaway scene. Very boring. Very out of place. But other than that, it's, yeah, Skarsgård, it's definitely his show. He's the best part of it. But other than that, it's still, excuse me, it's still very, very slow. So we'll see what happens next. Anyway, I'll leave it there for this one. Cheers. Catch you in the next.